Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast for this week. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got a nice big team for this one, and we've got a guest as well, which you would have seen in the headline as well. We'll get to all of that very shortly. But look, we have to start with the regular team and see how they're going. Allegra, Leggers, it's been a while since we've had you on, so I might start with you. How's your week going? And it looks like you've got a bonus guest there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my week's going well. This is my child Bong, and she is recovering from her spaying surgery. So she's got a little cone on and has been very sleepy and snuggly this morning. So she'll be probably sitting here for the duration of the time. But yeah, no, it's all just been good. Yeah, honestly, not that much. Just been doing rebranding. So keep your eye out for the sort of updated look.
Yeah, and speaking of that, if people go over to YouTube or Spotify right now, we've just updated the YouTube and Spotify thumbnail, so you'll see this new design has come out. That is all thanks to Allegra. It's looking really schmick, very nice. So well done, and thanks for that, Leggers. Let's go to Graham. Graham, how's your week going?
Morning, Jess. Hi, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are. I was going to say Happy Friday and then realised that it's not. So there goes pretty much the entire podcast. We now have to wait 4 more sleeps until Monday, which is a sad thought.
Well, it's a double not Friday because we're recording on a Thursday and it's being released on a Monday. So it's a double non-Friday.
Well, apologies to everybody out there who was expecting a Friday podcast. Just deal with it, you know.
Awesome. Well, great. Pleasure to have you on, our CEO. That's great to have you. And Danette, different background this week. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm actually in a different country. So I am in the Philippines, in Manila, having a wonderful time and super excited to have this conversation with Mehdi. And I actually saw Mehdi online yesterday morning as well. So it's pretty cool.
That's very exciting. Well, it's a pleasure that he's gone from one magical learning thing to now being on the podcast the next day. That's how we like to do it here at Magical Learning. And it's great to have, speaking of, Dr. Medhi Nourbakhsh. How are you this week?
I am doing great, and just by pronouncing my last name, now you're on top of 1% of the people in the world that can pronounce that. Well done. So I'm doing great. Beautiful, sunny California, and yeah, things are going well.
Fantastic. Now, Dr. Medhi, well, it's a pleasure to have you on. People would have seen that this topic's about AI, which is a very hot topic at the moment, and people tend to love our podcast about AI. So we're very happy to have you on chatting about some really amazing stuff today. Before we get into all that and before we get into your topic, did you want to tell us a little bit about yourself for people that may be being introduced to you for the first time here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Medhi, author of 2 books in the topic, Augmented and Disrupted, and professionally, we are helping architecture, engineering, and construction companies to develop their AI strategy, governance, and help them to accelerate their AI journey. And my background in terms of education and work is I'm coming from, I used to be a structural engineer, worked as a construction manager, and fast forward got my PhD in this area, and then worked in a technology company called Autodesk. And through that, I was part of a team that introduced AI to Autodesk, and been doing that, for the past almost decade and a half. And now AI is being widespread, which is amazing. And yeah, can wait to share with your audience what are some of the ways that AI can help them in the built environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing topic, and I think we're going to really dive into it because we're talking about so many interesting things here, and this is just another whole area of AI we haven't even touched on yet. So I think before we get into any of the questions, your topic itself is using AI to design and build environments. As for people that don't know, we send off and ask for a topic, and this was a great one that you kind of sent back. So before we get into anything, I wanted to just know why you chose this topic and what about it excites you.
Yeah, so because of my background in structural engineering and in construction management, so built environments, in short, refers to anything that we have in when you design buildings, bridges, infrastructure, anything physical that we build on the planet. We call it built environment, just to make sure that We are all the audience are on the same page in terms of that. And, because I had this background in, structural engineering, construction management, I started working as a construction manager, designing and building buildings and other industrial facilities. As I was doing my PhD in design computation at Georgia Tech, I started realizing that how AI could improve how we design buildings, how we design bridges, how we design data centers, how we design things in general. And through that, I asked my professor, hey, can I get a master's in computer science because I really want to study this? And he agreed, and so I did it. And through that, I learned how AI and technology could augment the way that we design things and how we can do it in a way that a human alone can't do that. So I was so passionate about this topic. And when I found a job, one day I got a call from Autodesk that, hey, do you want to work for us? Because we want to invest in this. I was like, yes. So I was part of a research team that was actually designing and developing AI solutions for how to, design better manufacturing parts, better buildings. And through that, we created a lot of technologies and solutions and made that available to the market and learn a lot from kind of what is working, what is not working. And in my books, I try to create a framework and kind of publish that so that everybody on the planet can now do that in their organizations.
Amazing. Well, what a journey, and we're so happy to have you on here today. I think with all that information, it's only time to start going over to our questions. So I'm going to start with Danette. Danette, what were your questions, and tell us about why you chose them?
I was just curious on the whole topic. And so I always have two questions, Mehdi, because you know what my brain's like. So first question is, what are some of the environments that AI can help us to design and build? Because I reckon a lot of our audience probably hasn't thought about AI in terms of designing and building.
Yeah. And a clarifying question here, then, when you say environment, you mean tools and software?
Yes.
Or, okay. Yeah. So there are in the AEC, short for architecture, engineering, and construction, there are lots of tools and solutions that are available for people to use and design things. One of the tools that a dear friend of mine started a company while back, and I'd be happy to share that with you, is called HiArc, and I brought this as one example that I wanted to share with you. The challenge that a lot of home owners have is that they have ideas. They say, hey, I want the home to be like this big 3-bedroom, 4-bath. I have they draw something on a napkin sketch, or I want this to look like this, and then they take it to an architect. It used to be a time when you had this idea and present it to an architect, the architect start kind of sketching this, and after 5, 10, 15 minutes, they had a 3D sketch of the building and used to communicate that with you. Maybe some architects do today, but we got to a point that these days they say, okay, we can create a 3D model of this building based on what you shared, but it takes 2 weeks, it takes 3 weeks. So, more or less. So there is a gap between kind of where your idea is of dream house, and then 2 weeks later, let's visualize that and let's have a conversation around that. So now with AI, you can kind of bridge that gap. You can start sketching, and AI can help you to create a 3D model on the fly. And the tool that I'm sharing right now, so the tool, basically you can upload your screen, your sketch, and then based on that, it will analyzes those. It can identify the type of rooms, and then it will generate the 3D model of that building for you. And then you can start tweaking it, changing it, and have a smart conversation with your architects or your clients. So this is an example of how AI could be used today to design buildings in a better way, to bridge the gap between communication and conversation that owners of the building and architects typically have. And this is exciting. This is, for me, it's like, oh my God, dream coming true.
That was just awesome. So my next one is, what do we need to do to be able to work well with AI in these situations? Because I understand, a lot of people are quite fearful about working with AI, etc. But this looks like a really good opportunity. So love to hear you.
Yeah, so what can we do to become better partner with AI? And the answer to this is really is up to us, and how much we want to lean in, and how much we want to learn, and how much we want to try new things, because it's a magical learning podcast. So it's all about learning. So when we typically work with organizations, we run a survey at the beginning of our webinars, and we say, when you think about AI, what are the emotions that comes to your mind? And in every single organization we've done that, at the beginning, half of the people are overexcited about this, and the other half are fearful, and they, Skynet and AI is going to take over, this is it. And when you think about that, and we do the same at the end of the session and see that people are moved from the state of fear into, now I'm curious. You showed me some examples. Now I want to know more. I have more questions, which is great. But when you think about that at the organizational level, what it means is that if you, like a lot of leaders in the organizations, they think that if they just buy Copilot licenses, or buy this tool and buy that tool, and just make that available to people are going to use it. But the reality is not, unless they change their emotions from the state of fear to at least curious, unless they start seeing the value that the tool has for them, so that they can start asking questions and start learning about it. So how can we become a better partner? I think the first step is education. We need to provide that training and education for the people in our organization. And for a lot of people, it's just being curious and start asking questions and trying things and seeing how that could impact the work that you do today, and how AI as a thought partner can help you achieve more.
Great answer. Thank you, Mehdi.
Yes, thank you. And I think that really tees up the conversation really nicely, Mehdi, because I think that does cover basically the two types of people I've met about AI, which is either really fearful or really curious. And I think that, this conversation can hopefully give us a little bit more into the curiosity side. So that's great. Let's jump over to Graham's question. Graham, what was your question? Tell us about why you chose it.
I'd rather not. But thank you for asking. I think, Mehdi, I almost feel like I should apologise for the question, but what the hell? You've heard of the concept of glass half full, glass half empty. So I think me and AI at the moment, particularly when I came up with this question, I was in an interesting space of glass with a little bit in the bottom, but with some holes drilled in it. So that's sort of where I was coming from. I've gone to the dark side of devil's advocate. That's a good way to frame a question. Jez, you can edit all of that out. So my question was, and it sort of comes from partly a curiosity about where we're headed with AI, acknowledging that nobody really knows, broadly speaking. But I'm just curious about your thoughts as what are we potentially losing in terms of human ingenuity and creativity as we come to rely on or use AI more than we ever have before. So curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things so I'm a tech optimist, so that's kind of my lens and my bias. So Graham, you and I need to grab beer sometimes and have a deeper conversation. So the way that I see this is that if you think about what happened after Industrial Revolution, if you kind of go all the way back, before the Industrial Revolution, at the schools, the educational systems in the US, they taught like creative thinking, and because at that time we have craftsmanship, and people at that time need to be craftsmen to be successful. We have master builders. There was one architect who could have designed and built and do everything. And when Industrial Revolution happened, as a consequence of that, the leaders of the Industrial Revolution in the US, they realized that we don't need craftsmen anymore. We need people who can do the work. If I have an assembly line, I don't want a craftsman. I want people who can do repetitive work day in, day out, and we teach them how to do it. So they actually funded in the US. They funded the education system to start teaching people to be on time, to take lectures, to do all the things that the educational system today is teaching us. You go to a class, you go on time, there is a lecture, you load your brain with information, they're going to quiz you on that, you're going to A grade, you're done. And if you think about that, and this is how we work today. You come on time, they'll tell you what to do, you do it day in, day out, and you're a good employee, and we'll promote you at the end of the year. So what is happening with AI is that I think AI is taking us a little bit back to that craftsmanship mentality. And by that, I mean, there are things that we do every single day that are repetitive tasks. And if you ask employees that what are the things that you do today and really bothers you, they're going to give you a long list of the things that kind of drains their energy. And these are the opportunities that AI can help people to kind of get rid of, help them to do things that gives them more energy. And by doing that, they will have more time to be a critical thinker, to be creative. Now, this is one thing. The other side of it is, I should mention, is that when you are working with the AI system, you have an opportunity to be a thought leader and AI be your thought partner, or you can choose to just take in whatever the AI system tells you and run with it without any checks and validations and things like that. So another way to answer your question, Graham, is that as we are using these AI systems and tools, we have an opportunity to use them the right way. And one way to do it the right way is that you playing a role of a thought leader and use AI as a thought partner and not the other way around. Because if it's other way around, you start kind of losing the agency and the creative thinking and things that we need to be really good at in this age.
Thanks, Mehdi. Wonderful answer to a very convoluted question. And next time you're in Australia, I'll take you up on the sit down, have a beer and a chat. Come on down.
Sounds good. Challenge accepted.
I was just going to say, Dr. Mehdi, that reminded me, actually, I was watching The Office yesterday, and the part that you were talking about, I realized this interestingly about the TV show The Office, is that the one part of the show they never show is them actually doing the work. It's all the other stuff that goes on in the office, but they actually never show the office work. So I feel like that's kind of what you're angling towards more of. There can be more of that kind of time. Which I might actually go to my question now, to be honest, and then we'll go over to Lega's question. So my question is kind of on the flip side. What parts of AI excite you the most, and where do you see AI going? Because I figured if you're really excited about this space, I love when people are passionate about what they do, and I can sense the passion coming off you. So I'm interested in what parts of it really excite you the most.
Yeah, the part that excites me the most at the moment is that now we are getting into an era when you can tell an AI system what you want to do, and the AI system just do it for you. It is as if the natural language, the language we speak in any language, is the way that we can communicate with the computer systems. And this is, unheard of. It used to be when I was doing computer science degree back at Georgia Tech, we used to take the algorithm class. And in the algorithm class, they teach you how to write codes, right? You have a big problem. How do you solve that? How do you write a code for that big problem? You kind of break that into chunks of the smaller problems. And for each of those smaller problems, first you research what is codes and solutions that are out there in GitHub and things like that. And then based on what is available, you can maybe grab some, and then you start writing solutions for those kind of smaller chunks of codes. And then you put them together, and this is how you can, solve a big problem. And everything that I explain now, computer system, the AI agents can do that for you. Let me show you an example to, so you can see it. So what you see on the screen is a vision agent, and so this is from landing.ai. You can anybody can have access to it. No sign in required by the time you were creating this. So I uploaded a photo of 3 construction workers, and I asked this question: how many construction workers are in this photo? So how many people are in here? So you see that there are 3 AI agents. One is creating instructions. The other agent is retrieving tools, the thing that are out there in the market. And the third one is executing the code. So this one is retrieving tool, creating a code. And what you see on the right side is the computer code that is being generated, and also not only generated, also executed that and give you the answer that 3 people are in this photo. So what used to take 2, maybe 3 hours, or maybe a day or 2 of coding, now can be done in just by one text, by one language, and one prompt, and that's your question that you can ask.
Yeah, wow. And it's interesting to see how it all gets broken down like that, Mehdi. Like when you're starting to show like what the different systems are that are using it, and how it even looks at solving the problem is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does that mean for us, for companies, for enterprises? Is that what it means is that this will unlock a lot of potentials for the companies to start solving some of the problems that they have. Now, leaders in the organization, it used to be a time that you had to ask all these software providers and vendors, and how can you do this for us, or can you do that for us? What is this technology enable us to do is that you can just find the right people in your organization, create a right environment for their learnings, and kind of unleash them to start using this tool to solve some of the business problems that organizations have. And that's why this is an unprecedented time for innovation in every industry. I often say every company is now a technology company. And this is an unprecedented time for innovation because the tools are there. But oftentimes we don't provide that space and environment for people in our organization to leverage these tools.
Well, I mean, Mehdi, I'm seeing that. It's a great insight, and I've just been taking a bunch of notes. But it's even rings true of podcasting. We're now moving into a lot more video podcasting. I think that's in large part done through AI because it's helping leverage a lot of the stuff. Like this is going to have some element of AI put through it in the post production to make the sound nice and stuff like that. So yeah, this has become much more of a technology type deal as well. So yeah, I'm seeing it myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's go over to Lega's question. Legas, what was your question? Tell us a bit about why you chose it.
All right. Sorry, it's a bit of a long question, Medhi, but I've sort of been inspired to sort of take the sort of environmental sort of stance towards AI. And so my question towards this is, as the effects of climate change become more severe and frequent with things like floods, droughts, cyclones, and heat waves, what are some ways AI could be used in the design and construction of spaces that are more resilient to these extremes in weather? And then following on from that, as AI data centers themselves currently contribute to climate change through massive water and energy demands, could AI be used to make the design, construction, and powering of these AI data centers more eco-conscious?
Great questions. How much time do we have, Jess?
Sorry,
Well, let me talk a little bit about kind of the environmental aspects of AI, because this is also close to our heart. When you are developing an AI system, there is a phase called training, by which you provide a lot of data, and the AI system tries to kind of learn the patterns in data and everything, based on how you train it. And then there is a phase called inference, which means that the AI system now learned the patterns in data, now is able to infer something. It could be generating text, or saying this is a cat, this is a dog, those type of things. So the thing about AI is that AI is not new. It's been here for a long time, since 1950s. And it's one of the oldest technology when you think about internet and personal computers and all the things that came later. But it used to be a time when these AI systems were very small and tiny, because we didn't have that much data. and that much computing power. I love your cat, Allegra. Awesome. Oh my goodness. It used to be a time that these AI systems were very tiny and small, but because we had more and more data, more computing powers, and more better math and algorithm, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we are in the era of foundational models that, these models are huge. So if you look at the kind of cost of electricity for training something like GPT-3, I was looking at some statistics, and that's around the energy consumption of 120 US households in a year. And this is for training. You do it once typically. And well, it's a huge bill, but the thing about it is only once. The other side of it, the inference, this is where we use AI on a daily basis. So when you kind of prompt GPT-4 and get some responses back and maybe do it, a couple of times, these prompts usually take as much as, putting, toasting a bread in the morning, like 0.3 kilowatts per hour. So, which may seem nothing, but when you think about the scale of these, so OpenAI, they announced that they have billion users, prompts and transactions a day. That adds up really quickly. It becomes something really, really big. It's around, I think, 10,000, the energy consumption of 10,000 US households, which is relative to training is almost nothing. And now when you think about multiply that, we are just at the beginning of using these tools, and more people want to use these tools now and in the future. So this is just the beginning. So if you add these up, it becomes something really significant. So this is just energy use. We also have, like, for instance, hardware that big companies are producing so that we can do the training. And this hardware use raw material like lithium and other types of things that we need to extract. And problem with this is that this hardware gets obsolete in a couple of years and new hardware comes in. So you need to replace them quickly. And the other side of it is also because computers generate heat, and in order to cool them down, either you need to use electricity or water to cool them down. So if you're using electricity, it will be around 40% of data centers' energy consumption is just for cooling. If you use water, you need millions of gallons of water to cool them down. So when you add everything up, it becomes really, really big. So this is the environmental concerns. And everything that I'm sharing, we actually have a white paper around it that explains exactly, all the numbers and the thing. But on the other side of it is that even though this technology uses a lot of energy, and there are a lot of research going on to kind of how we can reduce this, and there are many different ways we can do that, at the same time, using this technology can help us reduce, material. Let me give you an example. So this is close to 10 years ago. So 2015, this was a project that I used to work on. And the idea was that, so this is from HackRod. It's a project called HackRod. There was a research project. And the idea was, if we can collect data from all the cars around the world, remember, it was 10 years ago. Sensors were new and things like that. So if you drive your Toyota to office, and if you can collect all the data from this car, can we use that data to reduce the weight of the car, and more specifically the chassis of the car, make it lighter and high performing? And can AI help us do that? So this was the research project. And so we basically had this car censored up. There was a professional drivers, and these are the people that work for like Need for Speed and Batman movies and things like that. So it's kind of cool. So professional drivers, drove the car for a period of time, and we captured all the sensor data. And what we did with this is that, so I designed algorithm that could take in this sensor data of how cars is being driven and start generating geometry that is lighter and also high performing. So this is the geometry that you see on the screen. see this geometry. And based on all the kind of data usage, you see that the top part is thicker and the bottom part is thicker, and these are kind of the mesh in between. And this is the geometry that human didn't come up with. The AI system came up with this type of geometry. And as an example of, so in the end, it was 30% lighter and had a better performance compared to the current chassis that they had over 30 years. So the point is that it's true that these AI systems consume a lot of energy, and at the same time, we can leverage these tools to design, airplane partitions in a lighter way. Imagine that we can reduce the weight of an airplane by 20%. 20% is a very ambitious goal, but imagine that AI can help us achieve that, right? And that will be billions of tons of CO2 emissions and fuels and things that we can save on the planet. And this is just one. We have cars, we have all sorts of things. And the point I'm making is that even though this technology uses a lot of energy, at the same time has a lot of potential. And finding a right balance between these two is very important. That's why in the white paper, we talk about having a conversation with your team. We give some question prompts that executives and leaders in their organization can use to start a conversation in their companies. Because what is happening right now is that those employees that maybe are environmental cautious, or maybe some of them are fearful, maybe some of them are not, they're asking their executives that, if we use AI, the environment is just, is gone. And we don't want to use that. So instead of this, we recommend having a conversation around how can we become part of the solution? How can we shape the future of AI? Because, so think about it right now. Do you start a dishwasher with just, one fork in it or one plate in it? Never, right? So because there is a consequence, there's environmental aspects of it that you're considering. So you make sure that the dishwasher is full before you starting it. So how are we using AI responsibly in our organizations? What are different ways that as a leader in an organization, we should start thinking about evaluating the AI solutions that are out there, and how we kind of select the vendor, the AI vendor, based on those aspects. So these are the conversations that leaders need to have in their organization. Love your cat, Allegra. And she's amazing. It's okay. Yeah, these are the conversations that leader can have with their teams in their organizations, so that we all get the most benefit out of it, and also we're not just, staying behind and doing nothing regarding the environment.
So it's a bit of like we have to do our part, and then the AI can also assist in pushing sort of our agenda faster and better.
Yeah. And specific to your question about the AEC, like how we choose a land that we should build a data center. What is the design of the data center? What are the environmental consequences and aspects? And now with AI, it used to be like engineers used to do one thing, but now with AI, you can basically do a full life cycle assessment of your design. It used to be that engineers or designers could come up with one or two solutions based on the time they've had, but with AI, you can now generate hundreds of solutions and start kind of studying them. So this is a new way of designing that did not exist before.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you. That was a really interesting answer. But I think, it'll just be about like how we can leverage the tools that we have to sort of work with where we're at globally and environmentally, and seeing how we can sort of meet at a point where it's doing good and we're using it well,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Leggers, and great question. And look, I think we're going to have you back on, Dr. Mehdi, because we're not going to get to all the questions in this chat, but I think it's still a very important conversation. So I might start with some final thoughts from everybody. I might start with Danette. Did you have any final thoughts on today's conversation?
What I loved about the conversation, first time, Mehdi, that anyone's ever shared stuff as shared on screen. So that was awesome. What I loved is that curiosity, the learning. Yeah, it's not good or bad unless we are not intentional about it. So I really liked that, let's encourage people to lean in, but let's have those conversations as leaders with our people, address any concerns in that. And as Allegra said, get that balance right to make sure that we're not causing harm, but actually we can use it in a really positive way. So fabulous conversation. Totally agree with Jez. We need to get you back. And thank you so much. And as always, hug.
Thank you, Danette. You're amazing.
Yes, and thanks, Danette. Great questions today. Always a pleasure, as always. Graham, did you have any final thoughts on today's conversation?
Where to start? I was going to drop a couple of things into ChatGPT to get a follow-up response, but I'm too lazy. Mehdi, thank you. It's been a wonderful conversation, and we absolutely need more time for all of it. Really good reminder about how we have opportunities to use AI to augment rather than replace what we're currently doing. I'd really love to dive into the whole why question one day, but maybe we'll do that on part 2. But thank you for sharing today. Really appreciate it. It's been great.
Awesome. And thank you, Graham. Great conversation today as well. Lakers, did you have any final thoughts on today's conversation?
I just wanted to thank you, Medhi. That was a great chat. And I feel like I definitely learned about some new forms of AI, like the videos that you showed with the architecture and just being able to submit sort of a sketch of a place and it sort of gives you a full 3D render. I think that's very cool. So I think your passion and enthusiasm for AI is very enheartening maybe. I think all of us will have to sort of do our own sort of look into what other AI there is and how it can sort of either benefit us personally or us as a business even. So thank you so much for your chat. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Allegra.
Yes, and I want to say, I've taken out a bunch of notes. For me, definitely the takeaway is the word partnership. I think that once you start thinking about it like that, and then with everything that you're saying, if we can start trying to make the solutions help make AI better than from AI, that's also very helpful. But before we get to where people can reach out to you, Dr. Medhi, did you have any final thoughts on today's conversation and using AI to build environments?
If you think about Google search 20 years ago, or Yahoo search 20 years ago, that was the worst search that Google had at that time. And where we are today with all these GPTs and ChatGPTs and Claude and everything, if you think 10 years from now, that day was this was the worst AI that ever existed. And yet they're so powerful. And they're just the beginning, because now countries are started to pushing this, China versus US versus, so they're gonna pour a lot of money and investment to get this going. So the short wanted to say that this is just the beginning, and this is the invitation for all of us to just lean in and learn about this and use that to our advantage and to our benefit. Because if we don't do that, technology makers gonna make whatever they want, and this is not gonna benefit anyone. So lean in.
Well, Medhi, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like it's definitely opened my eyes, and it's great to see someone who's really looking at some of the features, and even the fact that so many, 10 years ago, you built that car using this model, and now we're, 10 years in AI years. I have no idea what that is, probably 40 billion. So we're much further ahead, and so that's just kind of amazing to see that there was practical implications even 10 years ago, and now we can kind of go further from there. But Medhi, people have probably been listening to this and going, how do I get in contact to either read some of your material or best place to reach out to you? So where's the best place for people to do that?
Absolutely. So our website is YegaTech.com, www.yegatech.com. And there are a bunch of, under the education tab, there are free resources. So we have 2 books, and each book has a workbook. So free chapters, you can download them, you can read them. I also wanted to share this sustainability paper, which is very close to my heart. I will leave the link in chat so that you can share that with your audience. So basically what you can do is let me share quickly. It has, talk about various different ways AI consumes energy, what are the different sides of the coin, positives and negatives, what are our choices, and then how can you have a better conversation with your team regarding that. So there's a list of questions that you can start, asking and working with your team. Where is that? Yep, here it is. Questions to discuss. So these are some of the things that is available for free on our website, and I'll share the link with you. I just want to say thanks again. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining us for today's session. And I hope you enjoy listening or watching this as much as I enjoyed talking about this topic. This is exciting.
Well, Mehdi, I think your energy and passion has definitely come through the screen and earpods for those listening at home. So I think that's great. All those links are going to be available in the podcast description, so you can go check those out right now if you want. I want to thank you, Mehdi, for being on. I want to thank Danette, Graham, and Leggers. Thank you for your great questions and great insights there today. Thank you to everybody. By the time this comes out, we should be at 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is very exciting. We're pretty much there, so this should be the first episode where that is true. Otherwise, everybody, thank you for sharing and subscribing. And as always, everybody, have a magical week.